Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fantasycraft: The Last City, an actual play stream presented by You Don't Meet in an Inn, an actual play podcast about exploring obscure tabletop role-playing games with a rotating cast. I am your host and GM for this evening. My name is Austin Ramsey, and my pronouns are he and him. You can find me and the podcast on Twitter at NotAnIn, and you can find any of my game design work at austin-ramsey.itch.io. This evening, I am of course joined by Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm playing Dorothy, the unborn mage, and my pronouns are she or they.
Thank you. Also with us is of course Sasha.
Hi, hello. I'm Sasha. My pronouns are NNs, and I'm playing the good Captain V, who is a tree who will shoot you if you are rude to her.
Damn right.
Don't need no Lorax. And last but never least is Hadrian.
That's me. I'm Hadrian. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Viper, the Bloodsworn.
Nice. Okay, so who wants to recap what happened last week?
Viper spent a literal week reading books.
Nerd.
Yeah. Big muscle-bound dumbass nerd.
We were trying to find information about we were trying to figure out how to stop the apocalypse from occurring again. Just another Tuesday, I guess. And we got a bit turned around because Madame V suggested that we summon the Death God, and then I summoned an information outsider who gave us
a lot of summoning,
and who gave us the ritual to summon and contain the god of the god that's causing all this trouble, which was to find the proper ritual and the power necessary, its true name, the place of power of the creature, and the object of power of that creature. And so Dorothy went to ask the leader of the sailors, the captain of the sailors on her crew, about if they knew a follower of the storm god to find some information, and then went on a surprise date and ended up hiding out in the library and getting up into Viper's business when she realized that she had accidentally gone on a date and now is thrown into an existential crisis.
So to be clear, the information that outsider provided wasn't specifically for the god Storm. It was for summoning things in general.
Yeah.
And what was V up to?
V, let's see, what did she do? She went and hung out with Commander Alligator Face and went through some records of and some what was it? What's the word for it? Evidence, confiscated evidence from back when the city turned on the Storm Cult. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all that happened.
All right then. So, what do y'all want to get up to now? You've got a couple leads you can follow up on. You can pursue more information about how to summon the Death God, who is a much smaller god than the Storm God.
Just a minor death god.
Yeah. Are we going to have a team meeting?
Yeah, maybe that's where we
have our weekly team meeting.
Yeah, let's come in on the three of you rejoining together after Viper has finished in the library. So are you meeting up on the ship, in the punch bowl, at the giant embassy, or somewhere else? Those tend to be the places the three of you hang out.
Oh, well, I'm going to say probably not the punch bowl this time.
Yeah, this seems like a conversation that could use some discretion. And punch
Yeah,
bowls
this
might
seems
be
like
the-
probably an embassy meeting.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Are you bringing any of the ship's officers, or do you want Ingril there, or is it just going to be the three of you for now?
I don't have a strong opinion.
I think-
Viper's not one for informational discretion anyway, so
I think we should bring in the ship captain, not captains, like team leaders, the ship team leaders, in once we figure out what we're going to be doing. But I don't think they should be part of figuring out what we should do. You know what I mean?
Part of the tactical meetings, but not part of the strategic ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I think that if we're going to go on like a quest to go up against a god, then we should like let them know what's going on, but we decide if we're going to do that or not.
I agree.
Yeah, there's a thought. Will any of your how many of your crew will stick around when you say, "Hey, we're gonna go after the god of death"?
We didn't choose cowards.
We have
well,
Okay, some of us chose cowards.
TBD, honestly.
Morphe didn't choose cowards.
And you also, something else you did was you sent Wilmer back to Ashwood because you got bigger fish to fry than trying to set up a lumber company.
Well, I assume, well, they haven't necessarily left yet, but that's next thing on the docket for them.
Yeah, you wanted to
Yeah.
take a detour to Ashwood. That's my understanding. And a question: when you drop Wilmer off, are you going to have Otis and Dale go with him, or are you going to keep them on the crew?
I don't know yet.
Fair. Okay, so the three of you are in the parlor of the Giant's Embassy on the couches that are suitably sized for two of you and much too large for one of you.
So Viper throws a big sheaf of twine-bound paper onto the coffee table and thunks down. She says, "Do you know what that is? That's 6 days. It's also a lot of words. It's also like zero information."
well, that seems unlikely. And
Well, she pulls out a chart. There's a list. It's place of power, artifact, blah blah blah, etc. etc. And like 3 of them are just blank. She's like, I couldn't find anything, and there's maybe a storm temple on the spine somewhere. If that counts as a place of power.
I think it would.
I managed to find out the name of someone who was a worshiper of the storm. They're actually a member of our crew. So
Oh, cool. Let me write that down. Someone that went to Storm Church one time. Okay.
Well,
that
not
later.
one time. I don't know how deep they were into the church, but they're a magic user, so Probably, I mean, relatively deep. Probably did some shit.
Let me throw something else at you. And she pulls out a second chart. And it looks the same, except at the top it says The Worm instead of Stormlord. And under the categories, it has places of power. There's like a whole paragraph. It has a true name. And it has a ritual. All 3 categories filled out.
Wow.
Like, so if we can find an artifact, I think we're good. On this page. And she flips back over to the Stormlord and she says, or we can keep going on this one.
Well, what do you think we should do once we summon the Death Lord?
Well, we can at least talk to it. And if anyone knows how to deal with an upstart supernatural being causing problems, I can't think of anyone better to ask. So I think Madam V might have had some ideas.
Well, I am not an expert. I'm just a fan. My reckoning was that if we brought the Death God to the Storm God, the two of them could have a conversation, or the Death God could just kill the Storm God, or some combination thereof.
One of those take care of your own people kind of talks.
Yeah.
Your boy is causing trouble.
Precisely. Come collect.
I don't know of any other being that's as effective at removing things from the mortal realm.
Anything can make a gate big enough. It's the thing that does that. I know you're not on... I mean, I don't know that anyone can be on good terms with the Death God, but I know that you are on worse terms than most, Dorothy.
Yeah, well, I had some time to think this week. And
Was it before or after you went and hid in the bathroom at the tavern?
it was when I went and hid in the library, actually.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't think I could justify continuing whatever it is that I call life at the expense of preventing the deaths of hundreds, thousands. I don't really know what happens when the event happens, but something big is happening. And if that means the Death God, finds me out and gets really mad and does something about me, then I guess it's worth it.
Well, you know what I say. Why let anyone else get stabbed when you could get stabbed instead?
You do say that just an awful lot.
Yeah, we're kind of concerned about you. This is actually an intervention.
It's fine.
You're addicted to stabbing or being stabbed.
Viper holds up her character sheet and says, "Look, I'm back to full wounds."
Well, I found out a bunch of stuff from the good commander that I don't remember. So
Classic Madam V.
super helpful and
He
great.
was wonderful, though.
But it was
Never memorized a line in her whole life. There's a person.
Just really
The
good
only
at improv.
opera with cue cards.
God.
No, wait, Dorothy has the whisper spell.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's true.
She just feeds V her lines.
Listen.
V as played by Johnny Depp.
Oh, nasty. Listen, I hate it. Listen, I have two heads, and they're full of songs, but not lyrics. It's fine. What did I find out last week, Austin?
I have so much other stuff to keep track of.
That's totally fair. That's
I
totally
think-
Alright,
fair.
just pull
Bella.
up just
what
pull
I-
up the VOD of last week and play it on
What I
stream right now.
remember is you went there and then you were like, what? Basically, it sounded like you were saying, is it cool if I be a pirate? And then they're like, no.
Well,
And
no,
you were
they were
like,
pitching that, and I was like, that'd be cool.
We're like, no, but kind of maybe.
and then you asked to see what was seized from the storm cultists. And I
Right.
think that they were like, no.
No, they did. They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. They super did.
Oh. Yeah, I
I-
don't remember.
I don't think you found anything. There,
Yeah, I don't
did
know if
you?
that resulted in anything material.
I thought it did. But again, you can tell how material it was by how vividly I remember it, so. Oh well.
Yeah.
Madam V is gonna make. I think just out of fucking muscle memory is just gonna make some food for folks. So one of them fucking hearty meals or whatever. Get you some bonuses.
Okay. Alright, so I guess V and Viper have a +1 bonus to their will save or fortitude saves from the meals they have.
Yeah.
Hey, feeling hardy.
Yeah.
Alright, so Viper pulls out a chair at the table and brings her sheaf of papers over, and she's like, so, this sort of happened as an epiphany as I was going through, I don't know, the 16th or 17th religious tome about the Stormlord last week. As, the Isle of Aquilon is just rife with places of power for the worm. I can think of two off the top of my head. One, it's called the Gallery. I've never been there myself, but I know, well, I knew people who had, where you go to ask questions of dead folks, if you know the god's true name.
That's very handy.
And also, there's the fucking Crash.
Yeah. There sure fucking is.
And as for finding the method to get to the god, to open the channel, I've done it before, and I think I know someone in Ashwood who'd be willing to do it again. And that's finding a person willing to take the guard.
The Griffin Guard?
Yeah.
What happens to the old guard?
I guess we'll find out.
Was there no other guard when you became?
Not all of them. She holds up her two bottom hands. Just some of them.
Oh. Huh. Okay. That's quite a ceremony.
Yeah. It's a trip. But we can open the door. I don't know what it would take for the worm to come back through. With whoever goes. That's the only part of the puzzle.
If we have a staging place where we can actually have a conversation with the god, then there is a good chance we can simply convince it that this is what needs to be done. So that saves, on my budget, a great deal.
Well, we're in the territory of questions that I don't know the answers to now. I can tell you this: there's definitely never been a wizard present at one of these rituals before.
So you have the name, the place of power, and the ritual. Should we be looking at different sects of the death god for potential objects?
That makes it the most sense.
What's the name of the god of death?
I'm so glad that you asked.
I'm specifically avoiding this because I know Sasha's got some good shit.
Do I?
I have faith in you.
I mean, there's probably a name that it is known by, and then there's its true name. Like,
Sure.
the Stormlord is not actually named the Stormlord, right? And the Swarm isn't actually named the Swarm. And you can bet your ass that Sisu is not actually named that, being the god of secrets. The only one I might trust to actually be honest about their name is Krusta.
Yeah. It's like, what you gonna do? Summon me? Okay.
I can't find the document where we wrote down all the names of the gods. Okay.
So I'm looking at where we have the gods, and there is no name listed for the small god of death.
Cool.
If you want to just have a common name for it, I can come up with its true name.
Well, I reckon like people call it lots of things, and it's sort of a regional thing. But you know, the old worm.
The old worm?
Yeah.
Okay, continue on. I'll just give me a minute to figure out the name.
So we just, I mean, that's unlike the storm god, people still practice with the death god, with the old worm, right? Like, that's not, it's weird, but it's not taboo. So actually asking around about that isn't, it's gonna be weird, but it's not gonna raise more eyebrows than necessary.
No, I mean, acquiring the object of power might involve some flexible morals, but we'll see.
We will see. Who knows? Hey, maybe the folks who worship the death god will be super stoked with our plan and super excited to have more people worshiping their tiny dog god and and just volunteer it.
Maybe.
Okay, I've got the death god's true name.
Right, sweet.
Rake.
Let's just go search for a death cult, I guess.
Pull up the city map.
Well, actually, Dorothy has some leads.
Ah, yes.
Because that would be connected to her research.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because she wants to be able to change her body once, like the research into like the blood curse and changing her body back. I feel like that's death magic. Also, she has a lot of necromancy spells for some reason.
Weird. Huh.
It's weird.
Dog thing.
I don't know.
So are you saying that Dorothy might already know the true name, or that she...
No.
Okay.
That she would know where people worship and like where to gather information about them.
Oh, okay. So?
So there is a small temple in the Enclave, that are death worshippers. But if you really want, I don't know if it's still standing, of course, but what's the island name where all the you said that there was like a show, where's the map?
Switch to the city map just in time to not need it.
Yeah. We don't have names here, do we? Great.
What are you looking for?
There is a collection. I guess the largest conglomerate of death worshippers are located around the spine.
Well, that would make sense to me.
Is it common knowledge that I feel like it would at least be the myth that the old worm like weaves underneath the spine.
Yeah, that feels like some folklore shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to be close to their god, and that's where their god is supposed to be.
I like the idea of the followers of the old worm at the base of Mount Atlas, and then the followers of the Stormlord at its peak.
Just throwing down stuff.
Each of them trying to get as close as possible to their god. Plus, there's probably a swift business of for both groups, with the pilgrims trying to reach the top and failing.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Okay, so Dorothy knows where there's, at least used to be, maybe still is, a conclave of the old worm.
And there are some pockets around Enclave. Nothing like incredibly organized, but
Well, at the very least, we can go and ask about the proper etiquette and protocol for when we do reach like a proper temple, as it were, and not make absolute fools of ourselves when we do. So it's worth talking to those pockets if they know anything. Which I mean, it certainly probably won't be every step and bow, but it'll be something.
Okay. And
Viper just rips off a big old hunk of bacon, chomps it as a sign of assent.
okay. So what do you have for summoning the death god, and what are you missing?
we just need the object of power.
And the true name.
And the true name, but I have a real strong lead on true name. If we can find anybody who knows anything about the gallery.
You know where the gallery is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the foothills of Aquawan.
Cool. So I guess we can go. Well, okay. So the docket is go and speak to any of the Death God worshippers here in town, and then head to Aquilon and then the spine. Or it's the spine and then Aquilon. How are we feeling? What makes more sense there?
Well, if we want to drop off,
Yeah, I'd like to get my boys home first.
Okay, so Aquilon first, and then the spine, and then back to Aquilon for the place of power,
I think that's gonna be it.
and then wherever the storm god is now. Which surely someone is keeping track of that.
I mean, it's a storm so large you can basically see it from anywhere once you're at sea.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll find it. That's for sure.
do you know people think I'm your sex slave?
I beg your pardon.
That
Excuse
we did-
me?
Oh, fuck! I had forgotten about that conversation.
people don't really know what my role is on the ship, so they think humanly is your sex slave. I say we go with that cover story.
I disagree.
Okay.
Dorothy, you're very
Is
nice.
it because of the rat in my mouth?
It's one of the problems. Dorothy, I think you're very nice and you're a very good stage manager, and it's been a pleasure to work with you.
I'm not saying actually. Make that my job.
I think perhaps next time we are on the ship, you should find some time to peel some potatoes with the good quartermaster. At least in full view of the rest of the crew.
You're sending me to galley duty? I'm a common chef?
Well, it's that or swapping the poop deck. It's up to you. But I certainly can't think of a quicker way to dispel these bizarre rumors.
Viper's like, I guess you could help us with the rigging, but
I could
Frankly,
be
I don't
Viper
think
sex
you-
slave.
I don't think you have enough ass for it. Either one, really.
Wow.
Well, let's get going.
She rips off another chunk of bacon and chomps down.
Okay,
Yes.
let's go find the cult in the city.
Let's.
Now, the cult in the city, are they like death seekers, or are they more of like elder care people, or like what's their view on death? I'm sure that there's many different like subsections of the death worshippers, but like what are the major people in the city?
The ones that are in the city are, or the ones that are publicly in the city anyways, there could be others, are the ones that are socially acceptable. You know?
So death positivity, not death starved.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
like assisted passing on, funerary rites, maintaining grave sites, that kind of thing, as opposed to, you know, raising the undead and
Don't look at me when you say that. What's wrong with raising the undead?
I mean, it depends upon a lot of what that means, but considering the Sparked, a lot of people aren't too comfortable with it at this time,
Okay.
even though they are technically not undead in the most technically speaking not undead way.
Okay, so this is like more about like the circle of life and less about like the harnessing death for your own.
Yeah,
purposes.
Yeah, the ones that are
Okay.
public here. There might be more. In fact, there are probably some in the university who teach, necromancy that the common person would be like, excuse me? You're doing what with the my
My grandma.
my grandma who donated her body to science? So
He's a hellhound now. She's not in a better place, but she is in a radder place.
Yeah.
you put Mima's head on a dog's body?
Why?
Because
It's
he looks
awesome.
sick.
Sick as fuck.
Yeah. So you can absolutely go and find one of these cults or the denomination. I guess that's the polite word for a cult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Catholics, Protestants, Lutherans, they're all just different cults of Christianity, right?
Ooh, hot take. You got him.
It wasn't
Get
so
in
much a
trouble.
take as it is, this is Austin not getting religion.
Okay. Should we split up, or should we just go to each separate, just one after the other?
We haven't done anything as a group in a while, I feel like. I feel like it would be fun to, like, go and talk to these people as like a cohesive whole.
Okay.
Viper takes another big bite of bacon.
Do you want... I can like, get you a box for those if you want to take them with you.
Nah. No, I'm good.
Okay.
She slugs down like half a gallon of milk
Oh,
and slams it
God.
on the table. Let's go.
Alright.
Okay, where would this be? I think so. Yeah, I think because as much as people respect the utility of this particular cult, which is the cult of the Quiet Worm, they still, would rather have them out of sight, out of mind. So they are located in South Farm, which
The
is
soft wiggler, the dirt friend.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're located in South Farm, which is I'm going to take us over to the map screen. They're located in South Farm, which is, unsurprisingly, south of the city, in the fields there.
Final noodle.
So how are y'all planning to get there? You could
Well, I've
take
got a moose.
It's the answer to so many of life's questions.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sort of like because the city's walled, right? So there's, basically 3 exits onto the island. Well, 4. You can go upriver. You can go out of the Uveries Gate. You can go out of East Gate, or you could take a ship around the wall to the shore and then walk. I'm just curious what y'all's preference is, because you could definitely hire a ferry to go upriver. I don't think you could take the Quod Libet upriver though.
No, that seems tight.
Well, you could, to be clear. Actually,
Okay.
the river is big. Like I said, it's like the Thames in that you can get full ass ships up there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's also very busy, so taking a ferry barge would be way easier than trying to navigate the river upstream.
I'm alright with it, with taking a barge.
Or again, you could walk out of one of the gates.
How are we feeling? Is it a nice day for walking?
What is it? It's spring. Yeah, let's say it's overcast, a bit windy, a bit chilly, threatens drizzle, but isn't at this time.
Well, I, Sasha, think that's fantastic weather for walking, and also probably Madame V agrees because that seems really good for her cuttings and flowers. So she's good to
Viper's
go.
like, yeah, I don't have any money to hire a boat, so.
Dog can use a good long stretch.
Okay, then we'll probably take the Ovaries Gate.
Yeah. Okay. So you cross the bridges over into the market area, and you pass by the inner campus, and then you go through the Ovaries Gate, which is it's open, but there's checkpoint there with Coast Guard. And they recognize Gentleman Moose, of course, so they don't give you any trouble, but they're mostly there to check people trying to come into the city, to be honest. And so immediately outside of the gate is the outer campus, featuring the newer buildings of the university. And then beyond that is Old Camp, which features it's not the most downtrodden part of Enclave, but it's definitely in the lower economic rung of society here, because they're basically the earliest of the refugees once the Spark came. So they were the ones who had access to the better building materials when they arrived to build their shacks and huts to make a living. So once you get off of the main road leading west out of the city, then it is mud and dirt that you're walking along. Mostly mud, it being spring and probably rained earlier. There's definitely planks that have been laid down for... Actually, no, there wouldn't be planks. Those would have been burned for firewood in the winter. There's probably large field stones that have been laid down to give some semblance of a path, but a lot of them aren't really chiseled to the right shape. They're not especially flat, so it's kind of awkward going. And the people out here are much less familiar with Gentleman Moose because, well, actually, that's not fair. Do the three of you get outside of Enclave's walls very much?
Well, it was a extremely closed city for a long time. I don't know if that includes the outer land.
So, with the Coast Guard having a naval barricade, there's also Coast Guard patrols out in the fields. So, it's less that the inner city was completely closed off, but there were those checkpoints, as you saw leaving the city, closely monitoring anyone coming in to the city, less concerned with people going out.
Okay.
So you and as I said, the first thing right out of the west gates, right out of the Ovaries gates, is like the newer part of the campus of the university. So there is some traffic going in and out.
Okay. I think that Madame B and Gentleman Moose would have taken rides at the very least, out into the countryside when they could. That's just good moose keeping.
Stretch those long legs. Okay. Dorothy, Viper, do you two get out of the inner city much?
Viper probably did not.
I've been out here with the new university and then also to the death cults,
Okay.
but not like frequently.
Yeah. So once you are outside of the city, it's slower going. This is good. What time did y'all leave the embassy to head out?
Well, we had breakfast and then we left.
True. So what, like 9, 10?
All right.
Yeah. So it'll probably be about like 1 o'clock or noon by the time you get to the Temple of the Quiet Worm. Because as I said, it's slower going once you're off of the roads proper. So yeah, beyond the old camp stretch the fields that feed Enclave and have for the last 9 years. And they are, as you all know, primarily owned by the landlords. The most prominent of which is, of course, Omba Broadwing.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you move through the fields, and there are farmers tending to them, planting for the spring and removing weeds and stones. And there's basically only 3 large buildings out here, one of which is the temple in question, which you're heading to. Dorothy, since you've been here before, what does this temple look like?
I'm trying to remember the name of it. Of when pioneers would build houses right into, like, using sod. I guess a sod house. It's like built into a dirt mound.
Okay. Is it like built into a barrow?
Yes.
All right.
I'm gonna look up with it.
Does it just look like a hill from a distance from those who don't know what they're looking for, or is it decorated at all?
I don't think it's decorated, no. Yeah, it's just called a sod house, or a soddy.
Okay. Yes, Dorothy leads the way towards this very large sod house.
It's kind of a meandering leading the way because I don't really remember fully where it was. So many hills.
You could probably spot it if you went atop Gentleman Moose and gave a good look.
Well, no, because it's, like covered, like it's a sod house. It just looks like a hill unless you see it on a very specific angle, and then you can see a door.
Good point. All right. But you make your way there eventually. And it's like I said, a fairly large sod house. Built into a barrow. And what's the symbol for the Quiet Worm that they would have? Like, I don't know if it would be over the door necessarily, or if it would be on a sign nearby, or in something carved into the ground. But they would have something so that people know this is where to bring your dead, or bring those of you who wish to move on.
I think it's a squiggly line with 3 lumps.
Okay. All right. And is it like a sign over the door, or like a pathway leading to the entrance, or?
Well, I think it's in many places it's in the pathway. With the on the roof, they've planted clover in that pattern.
Okay. All right. I like the idea that, like, on your way there, part of the way to find your way to this temple is that every so often there are not shrines per se, but small, like,
Refugees?
yeah, small markers with that symbol indicating that you're going the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So, you reach this large barrow planted in clover into that symbol. It's quiet here. There's not the noise of farmers nearby like you've been hearing for the past several hours as you travel. No work songs, no sounds of hoes on dirt and stone. And you realize that it's not just that that's missing. You don't hear the buzzing of bees and other insects. You don't hear the rustle of a rabbit in the tall grass. You don't hear the crow cawing in the field. It's quiet. What do you all do?
Dorothy, do you remember when services were?
Oh, no, I never attended services. I just asked, just went there for information a couple times.
Okay. Well, and Madame V dismounts and pats Gentleman Moose's flank, and is like, I suppose the thing to do is to walk in and see if they have a directory or some such thing.
Some sort of pamphlet.
Yeah. And I think Gentleman Moose, meanders off to munch on some grass or whatever.
To go
that's
harass
whatever
a
Moose does.
farmer.
Yeah. Goes to entertain himself.
Give me apples.
Hey.
Considering his scale, I think it's give me your orchard.
And Madame V goes in.
Okay.
I think probably ducks under the lentil.
Mm-hmm. And the two of you are going with her, I would imagine?
I'm just gonna bring Dog in with me.
Okay.
I like more than barging into a church and demanding they tell me all about their shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
So you go in, and inside is a small, essentially a waiting room, set up like a chapel. There's an effigy of the Quiet Worm in an alcove with some pillows on the ground in front of it for those who want to meditate upon the worm. And there's, across from that, there's some benches and chairs for seating. And there's a small bell hanging in an alcove nearby. It smells of old, absent incense within. And there's a pair of doors leading off to elsewhere in the temple. No one is here.
No one.
Not in this room, anyways.
Okay. I'm just gonna call out hello. And sort of like lead into some of the doorways to see if there's anyone holding doing the thing here.
Okay. You look through the first doorway, and as you open the door, immediately you feel a chill and something in your gut tells you that it is the chill of the grave, that this is a room of death, and there are indeed a number of corpses on stone, not altars per se, I'm not sure I have the right word, but like large
Pallets.
there we go, large blocks laid out with thin sheets over them. And there is a person in a heavy robe wrapped around them who appears to be tending to one of these bodies. And as you poke your head in and say hello, this human with the pale skin and it's hard to tell their build because of the voluminous heavy robe. They look up at you, and you can see that their lips are sewn shut, and they hold a finger up to their mouth and then come towards you.
Sorry. And I, well, I steel myself. This is what we came here to do. I knew that this would be full of freaky dead stuff, and here it is. Here's the freaky dead stuff. So yes. I close the distance to them.
Okay, as you start heading towards them, they shake their head and they give like a shooing motion.
Oh, okay. I'll just be out here then.
They as you go into the other room, they like slowly nod their head, and then they come into the room with you, and they go to the bell, and they pick up a small hammer next to it. They give it a gentle ring, which resonates a surprising amount. And then they gesture expansively at the seating on one side and then the pillows and chapel on the other. And then they go back into the other room and close the door silently behind them. Which you realize as they do that, it did not open silently when you opened it.
Right. Okay. So they're busy. And... Okay. There was the chapel, right? That's the other room of this place?
It's all one room.
Okay.
Yes. Just that the chapel is sort of like across the room from the seating area.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Well,
Viper sort of has a hand up on the ceiling and is stooped slightly. She looks down at Dorothy and says, "Have you ever thought about how often we find ourselves politely waiting in foyers?"
I try not to think about it. It's kind of depressing. I'm gonna go drop 2 silver into the donations box and light an incense.
Okay.
I suppose I will go sit on one of those pillows and look at this big writhing worm.
Yeah. So, how how intensely are you looking at this worm, V? This stone effigy of the quiet worm.
Well, I think for a little bit it is out of politeness, and then it turns into genuine interest, because the statue is kind of neat.
Okay. give me a search check.
I would love to. Hang on. Search. Cool. I love how many ranks I have in that.
How many ranks do you have in that?
None.
None. So that's a 15 then. Okay. So as you're sitting there pondering this statue, it starts to writhe. It doesn't like leave the altar or anything. It's very slow at first, and with the flickering of the lantern light in here, it seems to be a play of the shadows, perhaps an optical illusion at first, but after a while it becomes quite clear to you that it is indeed moving. Dorothy and Viper, what are you doing while V is sitting in front of this in contemplation, quiet contemplation of this very still statue?
That's my the answer to this for Viper is going to depend very strongly on how long it's been.
We'll say it's probably about 5 minutes.
Then she's likely still just sort of picking at her scars and fidgeting.
Oh my god.
Okay. And Dorothy, what are you up to?
Probably along with the incense, Dorothy is offering up a quick prayer. But quick to Dorothy is not quick to other people. So we're offering up a prayer.
Okay. Do you want to give me a search check?
Okay.
Are you watching the statue, or is this like an eyes closed prayer?
I don't know. Probably not eyes closed.
So you are in contemplation as well.
Sure.
Okay.
So she hasn't laid her head back to make the eyes actuate closed.
You have to let, yeah. So I got a 20. I'll activate it. 26.
Okay. All right. So you are in contemplation of the stone worm effigy, and as with V, it begins to writhe in your vision. And it leaves the alcove and starts heading towards you, Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
V, it's still in the alcove. And what do you do as it's slithering across the ground towards you?
I pick up Foxglove from my lap and shoo her off away from the worm, and I brace myself.
Okay. It circles around you a little bit and almost looks like it's considering you. It sort of raises its front portion up like it's sniffing you, looking
It could
you
be
over.
his butt, though.
That is true. So is this effigy an earthworm then?
I pictured it, but I guess it could be the other type of worm.
There's many different. I think the portrayal of the old worm depends upon which cult it is. So I think it being an earthworm for the quiet worm would make a lot of sense. It could also be a maggot.
I never considered a maggot a worm before, but yeah, I like the idea of it being. I guess it could be both. Like, it's a pretty crude statue.
There's room for interpretation.
We'll stick with earthworm on the farmlands, I think, probably.
Yeah. So it
For
can...
me, personally, right now.
Okay.
Okay.
It's an earthworm.
I like maggots. They're really good for healing.
So it considers you. And
feel right now like a student when the teacher's just like, hey, everyone, turn in your homework from last night. And you're like, I did not do that. I'm just sitting there in not a cold sweat, but I would be in a cold sweat if I had sweat glands.
Also, I'm 200 years old and haven't been in school.
Oh no, and I'm not wearing any pants. Oh, I still have nightmares where I'm in university and it's like, you forgot to go to class the whole semester and it's the exam. Go. No. Those never go away.
They never do. They never do.
Kind of fucked up. At any rate, it considers you for a while. And then it returns back to its altar.
I would like to I'd like to touch the statue.
As it's writhing?
Yes.
Okay. So
Sorry, is one of the religious like movements to do the worm on the ground. It's part of worship. It might be part of our ritual to summon it. We'll put a pinhole in that.
Yeah.
We've established previously that dancing is athletics, so Viper's got this.
Oh yeah.
I think of all of you, I can most picture Viper doing the worm. Or
Probably-
breakdancing
yeah.
in general.
Honestly, it's probably happened at the punch bowl at some point.
Signature victory move.
Yeah.
So you reach out and you touch the statue. And while your eyes tell you that it is writhing, you can feel that it is still cold stone.
Marvelous.
And
Hey! Why are you touching their stuff?
It's not gonna break.
You don't know that.
Look, we've been over the damaging object rules in Fantasycraft. That thing ain't
It won't
breaking.
break.
But it's not gonna break.
It's not
trust me.
unless Viper touches it though.
So V, you gonna do anything else with it as it writhes under your touch / not writhes under your touch?
Weird. Hi.
Oh, hello. And you turn and look, and there is an initiate to the order who does not have her mouth sewn shut. And she's an elf with a purple skin. And she's wearing a robe similar to the one of the corpse tender in the other room. She appears to have come from the other door, just as silently as the corpse tender did. And she says, is there something I can help you with?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. I was just completely enthralled by your god statue here. That it moves without moving is incredible.
It is.
I'm Madam V. This is my friend Dorothy and also my friend Viper.
It's nice to meet the three of you.
We are interested in the Death God, and how did you put it, Dorothy?
Sorry?
Well, we want to know more. Let's start there. And we figured this would be a good place to start, to get to know more about your religion.
Yes.
Do you know anyone? Would you speak to us on this? Is there anyone else to speak to it if you were not available?
I can speak.
Oh, yes, you certainly can. I was just in the other room and escorted out by someone who did not. Is that a part of the initiation?
Correct.
Is it an extensive one?
Yes.
How close are you to it?
A distance.
Fantastic.
How many words are you allowed to string together into a sentence?
As few as needed.
I see. Yes. Is that a part of the practice, or is that a personal preference?
Former.
I see. Okay.
Quiet worm.
You start. Sure as shit. Yes, you're absolutely correct.
Could I step in?
Please.
Hi. We haven't met. I did spend some time here a while ago, learning about your god and some rituals. So, I know that you guys aren't necromancers, so you probably didn't receive the vision a lot of diviners received last week. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Okay. So, talking doll, I know a lot about magic. Basically, I think you could appreciate that the storm god being on our plane of existence isn't the natural order of things. So, we were looking to request a boon on the death god to help get things back in the natural order. To do that, we need an object of power from him. Could you help us with that?
Above my pay grade.
Yeah. I know that your people value silence. Would we be able to pass on information via writing or a whisper spell?
One moment. And she goes to the door that leads to the corpse tender's room.
And locks it.
Silently goes through. And then closes the door silently behind her. And a couple of minutes later, the door opens and she returns with the corpse tender. And the door silently closes once again behind them. And they gesture towards you, Dorothy.
Yeah, definitely finger guns for sure.
Yeah.
The, the initiate, she says, ask.
Do you need the full story or just the end question?
They gesture, sort of like move it along.
We need an object of power for the quiet worm so that we could ask a boon of him to restore the natural order of the storm god. Can we have one? Or do you know where we can acquire one?
The corpse tender looks at the initiate and moves their mouth, and the initiate says, "Why you?"
Why not?
That's a good point. Well, because in order to do this, you need a certain amount of metaphysical energy to be able to do this ritual. And I would assume if you had that, your people would have put a stop to this already.
The corpse tender, their mouth moves again, and the initiate says, "Not our role."
Okay. Then maybe it's mine.
You have one.
And it's not this?
What do you mean when you say it's not this?
I'm asking. It seems like they're implying that my role isn't this, and they know what my role is.
Ah, I see.
I don't. This is why you need more words.
Are they saying we have an object?
The corpse tender steps forward and moves towards Viper
Mm-hmm.
and just reaches a long bony finger towards you, Viper, and taps right where the Mysticeti bone embedded into your torso is. And you can feel it ring in your rib cage like a bell struck. It is probably one of the strangest sensations you've ever felt. Probably the closest thing you've ever felt.
Viper's felt some strange shit.
I was gonna say that probably the closest thing you've ever felt was the feeling of like a sword sliding across a rib.
Mm-hmm.
But this definitely feels more musical, but you don't hear it in your ears. It's silent, unsurprisingly. And the initiate says, "That, not her."
So we have
done here.
Viper's like, now that I think about it, that makes a lot of sense.
very much for your time. It's been truly and genuinely enlightening.
You wouldn't happen to know the name of the worm god, would you?
The corpse tender nods.
Of course you do.
Can we borrow it?
Proof.
Of what?
Our intentions?
And more.
What will convince you?
What is a good religious quest to send you all on?
Yeah, it's not like we have a deadline.
It's spring. We're fine. We got all summer.
The corpse tender gestures for you to follow and walks outside of the barrow. And it's begun to drizzle as the 7 of you, including Dog and Foxglove, go outside. And the corpse tender gestures at a nearby hill inside of a fence, on the other side of a fence, and then gestures at the barrow you just left. And the initiate says, "Almost full."
Do you need more bodies or fewer?
Space.
Need a new barrow.
So you need land.
The corpse tender nods. And the initiate says, "There will be much need coming."
Isn't there always? It's a stable trade, grave digging. Well, you are in luck, as I have recently become compatriots with a landowner's granddaughter, so I think this is doable.
The corpse tender inclines their head. And
How much space do you need?
just gestures at the nearby hill on the other side of the fence.
That specific hill.
Nods.
Great. Do you know whose that is?
Just a shrug.
The initiate says, "Broadwing."
Well, marvelous. We'll have this done by the end of the week, I suspect. Well, this is very productive. This has been a very useful trip. Thank you for your time. We will be back soon, I suspect.
A nod. And they sort of look at you inquisitively.
Is there anything else you need?
They gesture at you.
You will have to be more specific.
We need naught else. Do you?
Oh, I see. No. I think we're good. I think this has been good, and I'm going to go and find my moose, and I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day.
A nod. And the two of them begin heading inside, unless Dorothy or Viper have anything to say to them.
No.
I don't think Viper has anything to say to them, but I think to the party she's going to say, I'm going to hang out here for a little while. And
Okay.
Viper is gonna do a meditation, which highly out of character, but she is good at it. Got to do some thinking.
I realized I recently redid a little bit of my room, and I've had this friend just sort of hanging out.
Oh, well, how fortuitous.
How strangely relevant. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was funny.
Okay, so Dorothy and V, where are you two headed?
Let's see. Do I have money for the ferry? Probably. Yeah, I've got money for the ferry. Yeah, I'm gonna head up to the instead of going back through the gate, I'm gonna head up to the river mouth here. Not the mouth, but where the it intersects with the wall, and see if I can't catch a barge. Just sort of hop, skip, jump across the wall.
Okay. Alright. And I guess Dorothy, you're going with...
You don't need to know Dorothy's business. Point of the matter.
Literally needs to know Dorothy's
I know.
business.
Point of the matter is, no one got hurt, and she's going back to. She'll be back at the embassy at nightfall.
Great, wonderful. I'll meet you there, I guess.
Okay then. I'm glad to see that y'all stuck together for an extensive period.
One scene precisely.
We took a road trip, and then we were like, "Hang on, I remember why we don't hang out together."
Oh no!
Like Viper's like, oh yeah, I remember. I'm fucking depressed, guys.
Oh no!
All right.
Never ever show it around you.
Or any weakness, really.
Okay. So we will catch up with Viper shortly, but it is 7:30 and time for our break. So we will be back in about 5 minutes. See y'all then.